Freelancer Summit 2022, and I'm here with Magaret Debrah and Nigel Stewart. They're both amazing founders building in the UK. So we wanted to bring that context into the summit, that global Black founder building and connecting with the continent, and to get their different views and how their businesses are going. So, I'll start with Magaret. You can introduce yourself and tell us about what you're building.
Okay. Hi, guys. So yeah, I'm Magaret Debrah, and I'm the founder of EATO. So EATO is on a mission to change the way the world views and digests African food. It's simple to us. African food equals tasty food, and we teach everyone how to cook tasty food whilst building a community that can rely on us to deliver high quality products. So that's kind of like the business I started up 2 years ago. And then on the side, well, actually full time, I actually still work my 9-to-5 job. So I'm a fixed income consultant operating in the banking space.
Great. Thank you for that intro, Mr. Nigel.
Yeah, Nigel Stewart. I'm the founder and director of a school actually called the Centre of PanAfrican Thought. And our mission is to develop the next generation of Pan-African leaders. And we do that by teaching things like African philosophy, development economics, African politics from a Pan-African perspective. That's, I would say, my legacy business. I have other business interests as well. So I also own a recruitment business. And I've had several startups, some successful, some not so successful in my 30+ years of doing business in the UK.
Great. I like the part, some successful, some not so successful. It's part of the story that people not always say, but I think it's important, to mention that as well. So that brings me to our first question around Pan-Africanism in building a business, because in my opinion, you might be good technically, you might be building, you might be intelligent, but if you don't have the context to why you're building and what will happen, say in the next 3 years, say in the next 50 years, does this product still benefit our people? So that's my first question to you, Nigel. Like, what's the connection between that technical, competent founder who's building and Pan-Africanism?
Well, I think Pan-Africanism is our guiding philosophy, right? It's not only just the technical expertise and the human capital you need to build any type of product or service. It's also something that guides us to connect with the continent and look for capital resources and human resources in different areas, right? So alternative resourcing is what allows you to actually connect with the continent and seek talent that's outside the normal sphere of where people would look, especially in the diaspora. If you go to business planning agencies or consultants in the UK, they will give you the traditional roadmaps, right? And the traditional sources of capital. Often we are excluded from that, right? So when we expand our market and expand our pools for searching talent and recruiting talent, it gives us a better chance of building our businesses and building our ideas. And Pan-Africanism is the guiding philosophy that leads us to that, I would say.
Right. I like the part that you said, expanding, our reach. I know Magaret has been doing work in Ghana. You can speak about that a bit, but I remember, we actually worked on your deck at some point, some of our team members, and I guess the team, the audience would like to know about that part of you being a founder in the UK and connecting with the continent, connecting with entrepreneurs and building in Ghana.
Okay, so I think so far it's actually been a very positive journey. So like I mentioned earlier, I still am working my 9-to-5 role. So what that kind of means is Monday to Friday, I'm extremely busy. I work long hours, and I wouldn't necessarily have the time to do everything that's on the EATO agenda. However, connecting back home with businesses like AfriBlocks has really enabled me to kind of stay on track with EATO and the vision we have for that, as well as not letting my corporate clients down in the services I give them. So, connecting with you guys to help me with my decks has meant that I can delegate some of the work that I'm responsible for to you guys, and the talent is there. I've also found that, building EATO from Ghana has been such an amazing experience, because I guess when I started this whole thing, my thing was, how do I make an impact back home? And initially I had gone and done some charity work, and then my thing was, Africa doesn't need charity, it needs opportunities. And we have great individuals on the continent with the right skills. They just need opportunities to kind of showcase what they can do, and paid opportunities so they can support their family. So for me, having EATO set up in Ghana, it now runs on its own. I have a team of 6 based in Ghana, and then like 3 contractors. And yep, they literally run all the production, which is very high quality recipe videos out of Ghana, and with little interaction from me. I literally kind of say, guys, this is the agenda, this is what we need to do, and they get it done. And if I even look, so I've been working in financial services for the last 10 years. And when we look for kind of like talent outside of like that Western world, well, not Western world, but when we look for talent outside of like the UK, the US or Europe, we tend to go to Asia. So we would offshore to Asia. However, what I found in the last 2 years is that actually there's so much talent in Africa. And now I actually feel, even away from my startup projects, that corporate firms should actually start looking to Africa to offshore some of their work, because I don't think everything needs to actually be done. So working in financial services, not everything needs to be done in UK or the US or Europe. Some work can get offshored, and it's been amazing to see the talent that's there. It's been amazing to connect with people. Every day I'm learning. And even with EATO, it's an African business first. Yes, I am based in the UK, but ultimately we are changing the way the world looks at African food. So it's really important that I have the staff that understand the food, understand the culture, and as things change on the ground, they're able to kind of feed that back to me through technology, and we can really kind of give our customers the right products, the right African products. So yeah, it's been a very amazing journey so far. I wouldn't say I think the only negative I would find is that initially there is a bit of a culture barrier. So, when I'm dealing with some of the males on the ground, the way I address them is kind of different to how I work in Europe. But, when in Rome, do as they do, and I'm learning every day. And it's just been a real positive experience. Yeah, connected back home.
Great. I do see and follow your the EATO network on Instagram, and it is amazing content. I always look at the content. It does bring me to my next question to Nigel around you kind of touched on this a bit, Margaret, around inclusion. The world has talked about this. I think it has been a huge topic for the past 1 or 2 years, but has it really changed? Has anything really changed, or it has been, campaigns, it has been, businesses just saying we're going to do this, but nothing really changing on the ground?
Tonga, you're going to get me in trouble here.
We have to talk about it, say we have to.
I think the narratives around inclusion are still developing, still growing, right? I think inclusion as a concept, as a way in which we do business in the West, is still developing and being shaped, particularly at the corporate level. So I do quite a lot of EDI consulting as well. A journey of some of the, particularly in the FTSE 100 and FTSE 250, the journey of those boards, the journey of those people running those companies is still in its infant stages, right? To understanding the needs of African people and how African people can fit into the commercial ecosystems and value chains that they have, right? So I would say, to answer your question, is Britain as inclusive as it should be? No. Has it changed? Perhaps a little, but I think that's not really what Pan-Africanism is about, right? Pan-Africanism is about self-reliance, yeah? if you are a proponent of someone like Marcus Garvey, for example, he's not sitting around waiting for people to build industry and build commerce and build business and economic infrastructure. It's do for self. And this is what AfriBlocks allows you to do, right? It allows you to collaborate, allows you to build a unity amongst your people where they understand your values, your culture, and they understand what you're trying to achieve simultaneously as you give back to the continent and help to the continent to develop, upskill, to grow economically and share their talent on a global stage, right? So I would say inclusion is not really the objective of Pan-Africanism. It would be great if we could all live in an equal and equitable society. But if you're a true Pan-Africanist, you're not really worried about that. You're more worried about doing for self and making sure your economic base is stable and that you're ready for power. And that's basically our objective.
Yeah, that's true. Because when me and my co-founder say, no, let's build AfriBlocks, it was based on that as well, to say out there, it's always about charity, it's always about aid. And yet we have so much talent, we have so much potential. We're literally the largest region in the world with the youngest population, with 60% being under the age of 25, and our population is expected to double. So, so our thoughts were, why not, put our services to use instead of, just having that narrative that keeps saying, let's find donations, let's ask for help. Yet, we can connect because there's now technology, there's now the internet, we can connect on this global scale and be able to work together. It does bring me to the next question to Magaret around funding, around raising startup funding. How has that journey been for you as a Black founder? AfriBlocks is based in the US, so we're raising in the US, and it has not been easy. We had some successes, last year, but as a startup, you need to keep growing. Series A, Series B, and things like that. How has the journey been for you?
So in the UK, in general, I would say the UK is kind of like a great place for startups, in the sense that it's easy to start up your company, and then there's a lot of information and a lot of resources available for you to kind of raise funding. Now, my personal experience has been quite interesting. So when I first kind of kicked off my journey, though yes, I am based in the UK, EATO is really about Africa and building an African food brand. So I initially kicked off my journey in Ghana, where I had found 2 investors initially. However, due to circumstances and just kind of the culture, I think it was just a case of, women leading is just, I feel like in certain African countries, and this is me being very honest, it's a bit weird for women to lead. So those investments fell through, and then I decided, actually I'm still a UK citizen, still based in the UK as well, so let me start again here. So I've actually raised kind of like within my circle initially to kind of kickstart EATO, and then I've obviously self-funded about 80% myself. For 2022, we are looking to do a Series A, and we will kick it off from the UK. And just because, the pool of investors is much wider for us than, let's just say I kicked it off in Ghana. Not to say that you can't find investment on the continent, you can, but it's likely anyway to come from the West. Your investors are likely to come from the West anyway. So I'll probably have a better update maybe at the next conference. But for now, this year, we do plan to raise our Series A, and I've started initial talks with investors, and they're quite excited about the brand and where we're going. So yeah, that's so far where I'm at.
Understood. I think that the discussion around raising, people have a lot to learn around, which investors to approach, why, the timing as well. And Nigel, you have some experience in that space, having built other startups as well. I guess the biggest question would be like, what approach should someone take what questions should they ask themselves when they want to start to raise? Is this the right time? Who should I approach? How much should I raise and things like that?
Well, again, I mean, I have some controversial views on this because I think on one hand, the problems with raising finance are the same regardless of what racial background you are, right? You've got to demonstrate your idea works. You've got to demonstrate that, you know, it has potential, that you can find customers, that you've got a good team, and, you know, you've got a really credible business plan, right? But I think for us, there are additional barriers as well. So, for example, a lot of kind of micro startups start with raising funding in their local communities amongst friends and families, right? But if you're from a certain socioeconomic background, that can be quite tough, yeah? So I think in the initial stages, when you perhaps want to develop an MVP, you want to perhaps prove proof of concept, that is very, very tricky, right? For an African entrepreneur. I think once you get to kind of a phase where you've got your product and you can demonstrate it works and you've got customers, it gets a bit easier because you can go to market and numbers don't lie, and investors will see actually this works. But just getting from that micro sort of A to B in the very, very initial stages is very, very challenging because we don't have the same economic base as other communities. Yeah. So I think that's key to understand. My approach is always to come up with innovative business models, right? So at the center, we didn't rely on external funding, particularly funding something like Pan-Africanism, yeah, which actually doesn't fit the funding criteria for a lot of European institutions, yeah? They're not going to fund things that are against their own development. And if you're a radical Pan-Africanist, say, actually it's counterintuitive to fund a school like ours, which teaches people to think Africa first, yeah? So we just don't fall into the funding criteria. So you have to come up with innovative ways and business models to try and get yourself going, to try and get funds through the door, to try and get ways and get capital in the initial stages. So we did that through events, we did that through membership, and we built a solid donor base first before we actually started going to foundations and trusts, it would be for us. And seeking capital from outside. So my advice to people is be creative, think innovatively, and do for self in the initial stages. Try to get past the friends and family don't have any money, don't believe in you barrier first. Prove your concept before you start going to external investors and the big bosses that Margaret is referring to in Ghana or wherever else she's seeking funding. Oh, and get yourself a good co-founder as well, I would say. So that's the other thing as well. You need a solid co-founder. Perhaps you're a male like me. We're looking for a female co-founder on one of our projects, and we know we're going to come across those same barriers that Margaret is facing. So you have to be really intelligent about picking the team around you as well. So yeah, that's my advice. Yeah,
I think my follow-up question on that is around crowdfunding. To Debrah, is that an alternative? Because crowdfunding is supposedly being, funded by the people. So in other ways, you're trying to bypass or go past, the establishments or the VCs and trying to raise directly from the people. Is that an option you've seen or not really?
So I tried to crowdfund a few years back, and I think within our actual community, so just looking at our community, I think it's a challenge at the moment, and I think it's just because we as a community haven't really educated ourselves on the benefits of supporting each other. Yes, whilst me and you might know, but the wider community are still kind of, a few years back. So when it comes to them, let's just say investing in projects, a lot of the time everyone's looking at what can I get out of it, as opposed to, well, how would this impact our community and really push our community forward? So So I think crowdfunding is a great thing, but I think when it comes to our community, I think a bit of work just needs to be done so they really understand the benefits, and not everything requires like an individual getting some sort of return. Sometimes it's just, if we have X and residual funds there, let's just pull it into stuff or pull it into projects that really will make impact. So yeah, that's kind of like my views on it. Yeah.
Can I add a point onto that, because it's a brilliant point, right? And there's lots of platforms that are springing up that are kind of these I guess crowdfunding organizations. They can just kind of match and pool funds together from the community and distribute to local projects and offer microfinance. We do have to educate ourselves on building for ourselves, right? This is a core tenet of Pan-Africanism, yeah? I don't know how we do that, but certainly there is a job to be done on educating the community to reinvest in ourselves. But using these types of vehicles is, I think, really essential. And they're built on indigenous African principles like Susu, for example, like Partner, for example. So they're things that are in our history already, they're in our culture already. We've just maybe got to operationalize them, bring them into the modern era, modern times, and then start really banging the drum about investing in our own, right? Because that's the way in which intergenerationally we're going to pull our community forward. So just to tag on to what Margaret said, because it's a key point, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
And one final thing I would like to say is, and for those people that do look to crowdfund for a project, now's the time where we should really take accountability and do everything with integrity. So, there's been recent stories, especially out of the US, where people kind of pulled into the Black Lives Matter kind of project, and then you heard that the money wasn't being allocated correctly, and we can't afford to do this as a community. So if you are going to crowdfund, make sure you have the right board of advisors, make sure you have the right accountants in place, so everything can be audited and the funds are used for what you say they're going to be used for when you go to crowdfund. So that's all I was going to say.
Yeah, that's true. I did see, there's some weird ways of raising, like, they give you money based on your revenue. Don't do it. If you have revenue, I'll just say, just keep bootstrapping, use that revenue to keep growing your business. Don't fall into these, traps and things like that. And, I did like the point Nigel made about the fact that, our community, the way that we raise is like different from, say, Europeans, because I think I saw a story about 2 weeks ago about Fast, a startup that raised about 120 million, and they were burning like 10 million a month, and they had only about 600K in revenue. Like it was like one of those things you say, how did they get the funding? And we have all the recipes, we have all the numbers, but it's still difficult for us. So yeah, it does go back to that Pan-Africanism. I think bootstrapping is a great way to build, just having that discipline, any revenue that comes in, putting back into the business. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for coming through. I'll just give the chance, the one question to Margaret and one question to Nigel, which is, what are you building right now, and what should people expect, say, within the next month? Where should they go to? Nigel, you can start.
We are building our school. It's a digital school. We want it to be a global Pan-African school, one of the first of its type in the world. And actually, we want to build an entrepreneurship course, right? Leadership on our own terms. I mean, Tongayi, we might have to invite you to do a program on there, but yeah, we certainly would like people to look out for us in the next 6 months. You can visit PanAfricanThought.com and follow us on all social media platforms to keep up to date with our progress. And when it's launched, when it's out in full, when the rollout is complete, what we hope is just people enroll. That's it. We're asking people to become students, and let's all learn and grow together. Our agenda is, look, we're all we all have a stake and a role to play in the development of our continent, but unless you have an education and a paradigm to do that, then you're not going to do that. You're only going to serve Western systems and Western interests. But when you come to our school, you'll be taught certainly how to think continent first, think Africa first, and use your talents to help us shape the future in Africa that we want. So see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you, thank you. So that's PanAfricanThought.com and on all other platforms. Magaret.
Yeah, so on my side, we are building an African food brand, and we've kicked off first with an educational journey. So we're just teaching people how to cook African food via EATO Network. So it's really fan short recipes, because a lot of our customers don't want to be in the kitchen long, and they kind of look at African food as like time consuming to prepare. For 2022 and beyond, we are going to look to offer a delivery service where we will be delivering African food to our customers, and look to really scale it not just in UK, Europe, but also back home in Africa. And then on the other side of that, we work with corporate clients to, you know, provide them a service where we can find buyers for their products, because you have a lot of great manufacturers of high quality African food on the ground that are producing great stuff, but don't have the access to international markets. So that's kind of where EATO comes in and really becomes that middleman for them. So there's a lot of things going on. We're building a really great tech solution. So yeah, follow us on our socials, and as and when things get rolled out, you guys will see, and just, yeah, continue to support, because like I've mentioned before, we started our operations run initially in Ghana, and with the tech side, it will be the UK and Ghana, but ultimately we are creating jobs and we are providing opportunity on the continent, and it's fair. So we are paying all our staff fairly, and in the future we'll offer more benefits to our employees. So yeah.
Great. So it's EATO Network on all socials. Follow them. They have amazing content, trust me. Thank you guys so much for joining our summit this year. We hope to see you again next year. And to our viewers, stay tuned. There's so much more great content, thought leaders that are going to be joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Peace and blessings.
All right.